Hey everybody, and welcome to session 5 of Diffusion of Innovations. In this session, if we look at the course plan, which I urge you to do frequently, we can see that we've got two things due in this session. The first thing is a discussion board called A Case of Innovation. And I'm going to remove something on the course plan. All right. I had put week 1 on the course plan. That was a summer note, but the discussion can run the whole 2 weeks. And then the second item is the group Dropbox submission for part 2 of the technology integration project. All right, so looking very quickly inside of the session 5 activities page, you'll see a number of readings. At least half of them optional. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Actually, yeah, 6 of them optional. 3 of them are what I want you to definitely read. One is an article on 8 forces for leaders of change. There's a second one, an article on leading change, why transformation efforts fail. The first one from the National Staff Development Council will be kind of K-12 focused probably. I say probably, I'm pretty sure it is. I just haven't read it for a year. But Fullen is a big K-12 researcher, and the National Staff Development Council is K-12 oriented. But you'll notice the second one, Harvard Business Review, that particular article will be more general. So it's kind of refreshing sometimes to take a step outside of the domain of education and see how other people talk about some of the same concepts that, the similar concepts across multiple domains. How can we talk more generally about it and learn from other domains? So there's a Cotter article there, and I provide a second Cotter article down in the optional readings. The very last optional reading that says Research Summary, Choosing Strategies for Change, Cotter, that's another Harvard Business Review article. It's fantastic. In fact, all of the optional things I think are pretty fantastic. That's why I include them. I know you're too busy to probably read them, but you should look at them because many of them are organized with good headings that kind of let you see some good ideas. And when it comes time to do part 3 of the major project, you're going to be showing off your knowledge, and you have to have a certain number of references, and you may need to dip into some of these optional ones, or you can go find some additional optional ones that you like. I know a lot of you bring in articles that you're reading in other places as well. There might be good things that you're reading in your issues classes or other classes you're taking simultaneously, or articles that you've read previously. Those are all fair game as well. But I provide these extras just so that you have some good stuff, good leads. Okay, so 2 articles, or 2 what I call research summaries, those articles, and then some summary notes on the consequences of innovations. And this concept of the consequences of innovations, or what happens when you diffuse an innovation. There's an in-depth, well, it's not that in-depth, but it's like a 4-page sort of case study of the year you won't of Australia, and some of the unintended consequences that occurred when some missionaries and anthropologists introduced steel axes to these folks who formerly used stone axes. And it's interesting to read how that innovation of the steel axe, while they thought the diffusers, the change agents, I guess you'd call them, thought the steel axes would, of course, result in some obvious benefits to the way of life for these folks. I guess they don't have to, spend all their time fashioning stone axes anymore. The steel axe works a lot better. But as you read this little case study, you'll see that there were a number of unintended consequences. And though this is not an educational example, and it's 100 years old, perhaps, almost 100 years old, depending on what part of the 20th century various aspects of the story came from, it's far out of the context that most of you are thinking about. It's a really interesting example. So what I want you to do, so I'm skipping down to the activities. First, the class discussion. In the case of innovation, you're going to think about an innovation that you've witnessed in your work setting, and you're going to answer some questions about it, and you're going to think about those unintended consequences. You're also going to provide some strategies based on some readings that you've had in this class. You could also pull in readings from other places, strategies that might have made the innovation better diffused. In terms of the technology integration project, part 2, that's coming due. This is maybe the third. This is the third session that we've had it assigned. It was assigned during session 3. We've had it for session 4. Again, session 5. And then, yeah, so it's due here at the end of the session. So you've had it, you will have had it for 6 weeks. So hopefully you've read the helpful information page that follows the session 5 activities page, the tips for part 2. So let me know if you have any questions. I haven't gotten a lot of questions about part 2 yet. Hopefully you guys are working on it. But this is where you're reporting information from your stakeholders that you've pulled out of them kindly and gently. And you've analyzed it a little bit. Don't just give me your raw data, you know, kind of massage it and give it some meaning, you know, run it through your noggins a little bit and take that extra step of what it means. Don't just give me word for word what the people said. Most people understand that, but occasionally I'll just get a literal transcript of what the stakeholders said, but it's actually your job to kind of shape it a little bit and do a little bit of summary so that I don't have to just read the raw data. I have enough of my own raw data to read right now. All right, so that's session 5. I will be at a conference during the first week of session 5, and I will try to answer emails because I don't want to completely vanish, and there's no reason that I should completely vanish, but I probably won't be making any headway in terms of course design or grading. I will try to come into the discussion board, but it's possible that for this session, my biggest interactions, my greatest interactions will actually occur the second week of this session. Okay? I hope that's okay. I just have so much to do at this conference. It's like I have multiple presentations. I'm on two different organizations at the conference. So I'm working booths. I'm like giving away free books. I'm crawling on the floor running games at some reception event. I'm, you know, did all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's intense, and I apologize for not being able to do the discussion board during week 1, but you're just going to have to live without me in there for that week. I'll be in there week 2. If I come in week 1, though, that'll be impressive. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy session 5. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.